This is a channeling from the Arcturians about the relationship and comparison of the Arcturians and Andromedans. Arcturians are more gentle towards the Earth and wanting to be more gentle towards the humans. But their concept is they want to sort out who the sort of bad guys are, and they want to sort out who's bad and just clean them out. Um, Whereas uh, the Andromedans sort of see humanity more as a whole. So, like, if people are part of some malicious secret societies, for example, they're sort of part of the human social template. They're a fixed piece of humanity. So, humanity is acting as a whole body. Like, if you were to take out all of those people, different people would just sort of take their place because that role is assumed. And the human race remembers that certain rules are required for the way that they used to do things. So the human race really struggles to like create new patterns. So most of the idiosyncratic patterns come from aliens. But the Andromedans are saying that this is as if that's sort of like a natural fixture of humanity that's not going to change easily. So, if it was up to the Arcturians, maybe they would just annihilate a shit ton of souls. But the power structures are still there, and they're going to sort of replicate themselves based on memory. And not only that, but like non-human souls that would be like guiding some kind of secret society type stuff. It's not given to the Arcturians to kill them, to get rid of them. It's not their place. And this is sort of the cosmic spiritual scale, which is a really obtuse, bizarre thing. But I don't know if it's reptilians exactly. I don't know what it is. I do know, and I've had experiences with people and seen that their energy body was something else, and they've incarnated here. So those people are protected. Really, the job of Arcturians and Andromedans is to sort of convince the human race that it shouldn't, fraternize with such ETs, such non-human souls, to help them identify them and stuff like that. Um, Lately, there's been sort of a process of experimentation where light codes have been sent down, and it's trying to activate all kinds of potentialities in people. And we, as the star seeds, it's been given to us to choose like what to do about these things. And some choices have been made now, but basically, yeah, it's a tough spot. It's a tough thing right now. Um, or it was, maybe not so much now. But the Arcturians, yeah, so they want to treat the whole race well, and just get rid of like the losers. And the Andromedans are saying, but the human race isn't healed. Then you're just, you know, you're fighting the symptom, not the source. Um, so when Andromedans incarnate, they tend to be very focused on very specific structural things they want to change. Um, and won't be as aware of the whole thing, because from their perspective, there's only like a few things we can even do. Whereas Arcturians have a different perspective. Like Arcturians, if it was up to them, they would collapse the system and just put a new one in, basically restructure the human race and a lot of the paradigms of the human race, and fixtures of the social mind, the collective consciousness. They would just come in and fix the human race. And I think the Andromedans have a good criticism that you can't really do that. You can't really just come in and you know it's kind of like the the prime directive in Star Trek. With the Arcturians and the Andromedans, they're sort of above all that. But the Andromedans are making a good point of like, you can't just go in and change the game for everyone. So Arcturians have the main like charter over Earth to make choices about it, but they're not absolutely free to do everything. So a lot of the things on Earth is like, Earth is considered a fool world. So we are, as a world, the fool. You know, we don't know. You know, that's kind of how it is, and that's sort of changing now. And because we're like waking up as a planet, that creates some difficulties where it's like, um, they have to decide. They have to work and help the human race and how it will be like categorized when it fully wakes up. And you know, probably there's a lot of issues of like who will get first contact or things like that. I think it's not so much based on sort of the politics between aliens as that. I mean, if some uh, primarily harmful group that is part of, you know, like some of the command and control negative stuff on Earth, if some of those sorts of aliens come down and do a first contact, it's not necessarily completely within Andromedan or Arcturian charter to keep them from doing so. And so then there's certain concessions made on both sides, and there's a lot of complexity to it. But essentially, if such negative ETs wanted to come and make quote unquote first contact, um, they could do so. There's actually no agreement against that. It's more the fear of escalation from the Arcturians and Andromedans on some other front, especially since, you know, everyone's sort of looking for like thinking about what's the long-term advantage going to be. And you can see this in politics on Earth too, kind of trickling through. But that doesn't mean like, now we have a particular picture of politics, like in the cosmos, or at least around our world egg. Um, but you know, that doesn't mean our politics on Earth couldn't change. Um, we're in an interesting time of that alignment, as above, so below. It doesn't always work out like that. So, like if, well, I think China will probably spread its influence a lot. That's not entirely a reflection of Arcturians, you know, culturally and socially and politically, diplomatically winning out over, say, you know, certain negative aliens. I don't really want to use terms of like Dracon and whatnot because I just don't have much of an experience of it. I'm like half channeling this in this one. Okay, also Andromedans versus Arcturians. Arcturians don't want a large military action on Earth, and they don't want to change the structure of the you know, planet field and, you know, certain like energetic planetary infrastructure that's it's completely energetic almost, and I don't understand it. I understand there are some physical structures within the Earth, within the Boo disk that are part of this, but you know, I don't think the Arcturians are going down and manning machines in the Earth or something. I don't know. I think they're like telepathically communicating with, maybe there's giant crystals in the Earth or something. I don't know. The bones of the Earth or something is coming through. The Andromedans would like to change these things because to them you could adjust the planet and the conditions of the planet, and then maybe it could be a more sort of positive environment for humans to, sort of heal themselves. And then at the same time, they would come in and take a massive military action against, negative ETs and their star seeds on Earth. So they would just swoop in, and because they're not really as beholden to certain agreements, so that's the Arcturian standpoint. And they're also kind of very they're very logical. They're like hyper logical, and in fact, a lot of people with autism are actually Andromedans, I think. Um, they'll like really focus. So they would really just want to focus on the problem and get rid of it and cut through the red tape of different agreements and whatnot, which they absolutely could. It would just be costly diplomatically later, because then um, we are sort of known to fulfill our agreements, and if the sort of the enemy is like realizing that we actually don't fulfill our agreements, because they do as well to some extent. They don't break too often, and we don't break too often. So it kind of is okay. But if we were to like break agreements, that would kind of make them bold to break other agreements, and it's like a Cold War of sorts. Not really, but so yeah, though mostly it is carried out by proxy powers, but it's like as if they're anyways. So that's sort of how it is. The Andromedans would like to take the dramatic action up here, but kind of pussyfoot it here, and the Arcturians kind of want to leave things as they are here, but then like really come in and take over here. So I think that's an interesting distinction to understand, that cosmically the Arcturians are harsh, and immediately they're kind of gentle and kind of at wit's end, because the human race in their minds has gone astray already. That's the way I've seen it. And the Andromedans are Arcturians are like they cosmically they don't want to shake the boat too much, but like immediately they want to come in and just like, probably Jesus was Arcturian, because he talks about dividing the wheat from the chaff. That's a totally Arcturian way of looking at it. Let's get the good humans and beam them up, make them great in future incarnations in the earth, evolve them, and let's take the bad ones and just throw them in the trash. Let's annihilate their souls. That's what that means, throwing them in the fire. Doesn't mean hell, it means literally destroying their souls, reverting them to source energy, completely depersonalized. Doesn't always happen, but with primitive souls, like, who cares, practically? Don't want to be like too harsh. Anyways, yeah, I think the Arcturians also have a good point about not changing the planet's like structure, changing like some of the settings, because if the settings would get changed, but the negative ETs wouldn't get thrown out, probably things would get worse because they just get more powerful. So really, you would have to break agreements and change the settings. Break agreements, throw them out, change the settings, or do none of that and come in and be more aggressive in the immediate. So it's an interesting thing. It's a thinker, but I mean, ultimately, if negative ETs come and they say, come in my van, I have candy, um, and the human race is like, oh yeah, oh, you have candy. Ultimately, like, it's the human race's absolute free will choice to get in the van. And the question is it, you know, do we need to come in and tell the human race the horrible truths of the universe, and kind of arm them against that sort of thing, or what, you know what I mean? And you, to some extent, like when you're a child and you're told, to be careful, in a way, being told to be careful, being told to be wary of certain types of people is going to evolve your consciousness. It's going to wake you up to that there are certain things. And on the cosmic level, the human race, to educate them properly, is kind of too much. There'd be too much to it. So that's like a good metaphor for that sort of thing.